Welcome to New Ways, New Habits podcast, hosted by change behaviour experts T3 and Kiddy Partners.
And if you don't know who we are, we offer leadership and behavioural change products and services to multinational companies, large public sector organisations and SMEs within the UK and globally.
Hi, welcome to our podcast on the collective advantage, group coaching solutions for organisational success. I'm Fiona, and I work at T3 and Kiddy Partners and have been in the learning and development and coaching space for over 20 years now.
Hi, and I'm Faye. I'm a principal consultant at T3 and Kiddy Partners. I've been working here for just a little over 2 years, and my expertise would probably, I would say, be in innovation and entrepreneurship.
Okay, thanks Faye. And today we're going to explore the transformative power and impact of group coaching, whether you're a coach, a leader, or perhaps just someone curious about personal growth. Faye and I will share some of our experiences and stories, insights, practical tips to help you to unlock the full potential of group coaching. Let's dive in. Faye, where would you say the real magic happens in group coaching?
Well, Fiona, I don't know about you, but I always think that first group coaching session that you have with a group can sometimes just show a little bit of magic. Sometimes when you get that group together and they're ready for it, they understand why they're taking part in group coaching and they're ready to let their guard down, show a little bit of vulnerability, and they really come with some amazing I need help problems. And that's when you can really see that team coming together. Doesn't always happen in the first session, but at least in the first or second session. I think when the vulnerability drops and people are really bought into why they're doing the group coaching, that's when you see the magic happen.
Yeah, and I see that. And for me, I think it is also that piece where they're just loosening up a little bit and they start to think, do you know what? This is a safe space for me to go there, to show that vulnerability, as you say. And that then the more of the questions start to come because they're like, okay, I also need some support with this. This is also another area I want to think about. So I think you're right. So our skill and as coaches and things in setting that psychological safety is really key, isn't it? For them to feel right from the get-go that this is a safe space for you to contribute.
Right from the get-go. So important that they know not only why they're doing the group coaching, but that we're there to support them because they're growing as well. They're learning how to do group coaching in a lot of these cases as well. They maybe haven't done it before, so we're there to support them in that as well.
And that's key, isn't it? Because some people, when they come to group coaching, they may not have even met the other participants or different departments. And so, some who may have been used to working in silos are now having an opportunity to learn from each other about what's happening in their business, in different parts of the business. So that really unleashes a lot of opportunity, doesn't it? And really great for that networking piece.
It is. I think, I don't know, one of the things I enjoy helping them and supporting them to do is keeping that advice monster in the box, because, you would see, especially if they're coming from different, functions or departments within the organization, they come with solutions quite readily. I think it's our natural tendency to want to solve the problem, isn't it? But as we know, coaching is about helping that person come to the solution themselves through really great questioning and listening. So, I think one of the most said things for me in a group coaching is, put the advice monster back in the box,
Yeah, exactly. And it's good intention, right? We know it's coming from a good place, but it's just that individual has to have the opportunity to discover their own options for how they may want to move forward. So the facilitation needs to be quite robust, doesn't it, to ensure that people do that. And when you go in there, Faye, what do you want them to come away with? From your point of view, what do you want them to sort of walk out that door feeling and thinking?
So from the two different perspectives, from somebody who's undertaking as a coach in it, doing the coach and the group coaching, to really feel the confidence and their ability grow and in their skills in being a good coach, the good questioning, good listening, those sorts of things. And then for the person that's sharing their experience and receiving the coaching, then you really want them to come away with a plan. This is the action that I'm going to take, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's going to solve the problem, but at least I have a clear, this is my next step for me. I think if they come away both feeling that, then I think we've done a good job.
Yeah. And when they're in that space, the opportunity for really seeing things they've never thought of before as an option for because they're just because they're just in their own world and everybody understands that, but how they then have that I hate to say light bulb moment, but those moments where you think, I'd never even thought of coming from it on that angle. Have you had any of that, Faye? What's that?
Fiona, do you know, I'm just thinking, I call it the Cinderella Syndrome, and I'll tell you why. Even Cinderella needed a fairy godmother to get her to the ball. You know, she's a pretty all together girl. Like, she had her stuff together, but she still needed a fairy godmother to get her to the ball. And I think for a lot of people that we all need that. The pressure and your job, your day-to-day, responsibilities that you carry, just helping you think outside the box. Sometimes you need an outside person to help you do that. So we all need that fairy godmother just to come along and help give you the space to try and think a little bit differently and, help you to get out of that drive that you're in, that day-to-day sort of slog for some people. But yeah,
Yeah.
Cinderella syndrome. Everybody needs a fairy godmother now
Love
and
that.
again.
Right. We all need a fairy
Yeah.
godmother, right? Let's have that on our list. Okay. And what do you think, like, challenges you might have experienced? I suppose, from maybe
Yeah.
some of, like, from your perspective, but also sort of what are some of those struggles that you think that some of the participants encounter?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest, and again, maybe industry
Mm,
dependent. Obviously there's a personal thing, but maybe industry dependent. Those industries where knowledge and ego can sometimes play a part. So that fear of judgment, lack of vulnerability, as we've already mentioned, but maybe that inability to open up and engage in what's required to ask for help and show that you don't have the
mm,
answer. I think sometimes that can be quite hard and can really stop a coaching conversation quite
mm,
readily. If somebody really just had that fear of judgment and really isn't ready to
mm.
open up.
And I've seen as well where people put a lot of pressure on themselves if they're very senior sometimes in organizations to have the
Hmm.
answers, and we're almost saying, hey, we're giving you the permission to say you may not, and that's okay. And actually that's a massive leap for people who almost feel that it's going to be a test of their competence if they aren't able to have the answers. And so being able to facilitate that, that's okay, permission giving, that kind of thing, it's quite a big part of our role,
Yeah,
isn't it, within the sessions.
it is.
And if you
It
have the
is. Yeah.
opportunity that you do get somebody who's on the program who really can say, well, I'm in a similar position to you, and I'm going to share something now. So that self-disclosure piece is really fundamental, isn't it? Again, we're building the psychological
Self-disclosure.
safety, but it's also about them feeling like, oh, okay, I've got a pal in this room who actually understands where I might be coming from, and that's okay. And so I think it's a good leveler, isn't it? Group coaching, it's a good leveler for people.
And it leads to as another of those light bulb moments. Sometimes when they do, achieve that vulnerability, and then they suddenly realize I'm not the only one that has these concerns or issues or
Yeah,
problems that I'm
yeah.
facing. And
Mm,
actually, in their network, then they've added a whole load of people into their network if they're taking part in group coaching that actually they can, rely on for other things.
yeah, completely. And I think so. The transformative power of it is actually it's unquantifiable in some ways, isn't it? Because every individual is going to come with their own goals out of it, and actually being the conduit of seeing people make that shift that's quite a privileged place for us to come from, isn't it? And to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, personal impact is one thing for the individuals that we see, that personal impact. Then you have the impact that they can have on their team when they take back that knowledge of group coaching and they start to do it for their team. And then it continues on, hopefully, into the culture of the organization as well, that actually it
Mm.
becomes a coaching feedback culture where, continuous improvement and just improvement of everybody actually forms part of the culture as well. So that can really transform a whole business.
Yeah, and I think for me, if you can use the word addiction, they start to see the power of it happening within that coaching session, and then they think, well, I can do this with my teams.
Exactly.
I can start using some of these conversations with the people I work with, and so that, as you say, it sort of like has a massive ripple effect. So for an organisation who may be wrestling with thinking about culture change or wanting to try and change things up a little bit, transform, this is a great starting point, is it not,
Great.
for setting them on that trajectory?
Absolutely. Not only do you get the benefit of the actual individual performance improvement, but then the
Yeah.
teams, the business, the bottom line, all of those things that the business is looking to improve can really be quite heavily impacted by great group coaching.
Yeah, yeah. And when you've experienced it yourself as an individual phase, is there anything you think that you could share, like just a personal piece, perhaps for those listeners out there, of something that you've thought, I really gained this when I experienced it?
I always gain when I take part in any group coaching. We obviously come in a facilitative role, and one of my toughest challenges is probably to keep the mouth shut and not want to jump in and ask some questions and things as well. I always learn something when I do group coaching. You get people that have a very nice way about how they ask questions, very nice rapport already built with the individual. That I love it when people come up with a nice phrasing of a question. I'm always taking notes and thinking that was a really good way of doing that. So I'm always learning as well whenever I take part in group coaching. But mostly, and I've a couple of clients at the moment that I sit there with pride as I watch them get better with each session, and I want to jump in less because they really have nailed that difference between the advice monster, but asking the good questions, and I sit there with real pride watching them.
I don't know about you, but some of the toughest stuff that I've sometimes seen is people who really wrestle with maybe not liking what they're hearing. So maybe, somebody's asking a question and it's like,
Oh,
I
of
don't
course.
want you to go there. I'm not sure I'm ready to go there. But they know, and you can see sort of from their body language and their responses that they really do need to have an opportunity to go there, but they're just not ready yet. So that pacing within a coaching session is quite important, isn't it? To allow people to have that space to breathe a little bit.
And would you, as a facilitator, take that opportunity to sometimes then jump in and provide that support and space and care for that individual, that you can see that happening for them?
You've hit the nail on the head. It's absolute
Yeah,
care for that individual,
yeah.
and maximum respect towards their journey may be very different to the questioner's journey, and therefore just understanding that and respecting that. So yeah, that's a key thing, and then ultimately, usually that person will say, yeah, okay, I'm ready to go there now. I'm ready to answer that. I think and sometimes it's because some of those questions can be, because I find we're quite good at questions generally in our roles, but when people ask those really key questions that just cut through some of the stuff that they may have been dodging, avoiding a little bit perhaps,
Absolutely.
and when it comes from a peer, when it comes from somebody who's in their organization, seems to have more impact, and that sets that person onto thinking, right, okay, this is something meaningful that I need to consider, this is something I need to take a step back on, or whatever. Great. Any final bits you'd want to say, Faye, about really good I mean, gosh, you've given us fairy godmother in this. You've given us quite a
I know,
few.
I've given you my best. Do you know, I think just the benefit when you do, it's easy to say or to think in your mind that group coaching is people getting together and having a chat. But I think when we're lucky enough to really see the impact of what this can do for an individual, a team, an organization, I think, jumping in and trying it. We're there to provide support and help in that, but jumping in and trying it, I think, is the best way that you yourself can then see those benefits, be it, even talent retention. Those sorts of things are so important, especially in today's world where everything is all just, a little out there. So using that amazing talent that you have already within the organization and asking everybody just to say, right, how can we continually get better together? Group coaching, I think, is one of the best ways to do that.
Yeah, love that. Well, Faye, I've absolutely loved chatting to you and sharing our thoughts together today.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Fiona.
If you'd like to find out more about our group or team coaching, download our ebook, The Collective Advantage: Group Solutions for Organisational Success. Thanks for listening.
So thank you for listening to our podcast, New Ways, New Habits.
To find out future release dates, follow us on LinkedIn, and you can find all future podcasts on Spotify, SoundCloud and Apple. We really are the whole package.
And it wouldn't be right without saying, don't forget to provoke, plant and practice these new ways and new habits.